This isn't how I imagined my life would be, ever. But you don't always have a choice, do you? And let's face it, I've become pretty good at this. Killing people. People who deserve it. And yeah, you can sit there and ask what gives me the right to make that judgment. But that's just your defense. Your alibi for not doing anything. Because the world is shit right now, and we all know it. That was just the first page and a half of Kill or Be Killed, a comic created by writer Ed Brubaker, artist Sean Phillips, and colorist Betty Breitweiser. Together, Brubaker and Phillips have won an Eisner Award for their fan-favorite classic, Criminal, and were also nominated for multiple awards for their comic, Fatale. These two masterminds have been able to create some of the darkest and best noir comics I've read in a long time. And once again, the duo have come together to give us one of my favorite and darkest entries yet, Kill or Be Killed. The story revolves around a character named Dylan, a 28-year-old college student living with his roommate Mason. Immediately following those first few pages that foreshadow where our protagonist is headed, we are taken back to where it all began. Dylan is a troubled and depressed person who is disconnected from the world. We soon learn about Kira, Dylan's closest friend and love, but we also find out that she is dating his roommate. The breaking point for Dylan comes from his secret affair with Kira. One night, they are surprised by the early return of Mason. While alone in his room, Dylan can overhear Kira mention to Mason of how she feels sorry for him. At this point, Dylan is so far down in his depression that he decides at that moment that he will end his life. On the roof of the apartment building, in the cold winter night, he jumps, and by the time he realizes he's made a mistake, it's too late. But against all odds, he survives in the most unimaginable of ways. Overwhelmed with gratitude for a second chance at life, Dylan vows to appreciate what he has and opts to change for the better. Or so he thought. Later that same evening, he encounters a shadowy demon. The demon tells him that he is the reason for Dylan surviving his brush with death. And for that, he owes the demon a life for every additional month he wants to live. He would have to kill for the demon. Ed Brubaker manages to use classic noir genre tropes and turns them upside down every step of the way.
I don't know, I just have always loved, that stuff. My uncle wrote like some famous noir films, and I grew up watching noir movies and going to noir festivals and just always really liked that kind of thing. And I think I had, kind of a fucked up childhood and early 20s with a lot of crime and drugs and drinking and meeting a lot of really people who were even more fucked up than me. And, so I just kind of always liked stories that took place in that kind of a world.
Whenever we think we know how a situation will resolve, we immediately have all expectations subverted in ways that feel fresh and never forced. Brubaker uses the narrations of our main character Dylan that leave us with a sense of dread lurking through every turning of the page, which builds throughout each issue towards an end we know will be tragic for our protagonist. What makes this comic so effective is not only the writing, but the artwork as well. The story comes to life by the brilliant illustrations that Sean Phillips splashes across the panels. He is able to bring a sense of realism by his attention to detail. In every frame, there is an overabundance of information that tells the reader everything they need to know about the environments our characters live in. In an interview, Sean Phillips mentions that his favorite style of art is French. And this couldn't be more obvious when further analyzing the artwork in Kill or Be Killed. French paintings are known for their depictions of everyday moments in life, whether it be random shots of busy cafes or outdoor restaurants, to the intricate details of a person's portrait. What makes French art so captivating is how it seems to appear almost like a window into another world that feels alive. And that style of art is ever more present in Sean Phillips' work. He takes inspirations from that style and uses it to create his own. The art in Kill or Be Killed is effective in making us feel like the places in the story are real. At a moment's glance, we learn valuable information about our characters without a single word of dialogue or narration. The environments depicted in every single panel show us a world that appears lived in, and it's not enough to have Dylan sitting at a desk alone in a library. Instead, Phillips creates a sense of loneliness by extending the panel to reveal an entire world of people living out their lives around Dylan. Take for instance this picture. Dylan walks with his head down among a crowd of people along the sidewalk of a rainy night in New York City. This drawing alone can tell us exactly how Dylan is feeling. It demonstrates through the sheer detail compressed into this panel of how small we can feel in a crowd. This could easily be just a random moment captured through a snapshot of a crowd in New York City, but the way Phillips is able to successfully convey just how these characters are dealing with the obstacles they are facing is absolutely breathtaking. The duo of Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips has become legendary at this point. They have been able to tell the stories that they want with total creative control. Kill or Be Killed is an interesting and fresh take on the moralities of killing people for the right reasons. Is it actually moral? And if so, how do you decide who deserves to die? It also dives into what it could feel like for a person to become mentally unstable. Do the visions that Dylan sees actually happening, or is it all in his mind? Is this what it looks like when a serial killer justifies their actions? These are all the questions that Kill or Be Killed forces us to ask ourselves. This is a comic that has stayed with me for a long time after reading it, and it is one of the biggest reasons why I got back into comics again since taking my small hiatus. It reminded me of how comic books can still leave you mesmerized, and how this form of literature can push themes that can feel dark and intensely real. Hey guys, I just want to thank you all so much for watching my video on Kill or Be Killed. If you enjoyed the content and want to show some support, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Also, let me know your thoughts in the comments section. I'm always looking for recommendations for great comics to read. Anyways, I'll see you all next time on Tribute This.